Hi, it's Megan. Most people have a story within. Why not write it down? Perhaps this is the year you too can write a novel. I've written both a novel and a nonfiction book, and I have another novel done. It's actually not that hard to do once you have a system and a structure and an idea in place. So this video is meant to be a starting point. What is your story? Is it fiction or nonfiction? Start at the beginning by writing one paragraph that just sums up what you're trying to write and why. What's your message? Resolve to work at it. Anyone who's written a book will tell you that, novels too, that it's more discipline than creativity. Writing is a lot of work. Ernest Hemingway sums it up best in my opinion. He says, "There's nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed." Who are your characters? Define them early on before you start writing the book. Basically, all the major characters. What's their name? Where are they from? What do they like? What are their passions? What do they hate? How old are they? Any important detail, any unimportant detail you can come up with, write it down, define your characters. If you can do it with the minor characters too, then you should. Once you've defined the characters, you'll find they start writing the book for you. Do an outline. A lot of writers disagree on this. I personally don't know how I could write a couple hundred pages if I didn't know where I was going with it. Let's sit down every day with a blank sheet of paper in front of me? I don't think so. So I don't follow my outlines. They're not that short. I change them and revise them all the time. But having that structure means that when I sit down, I know kind of where I'm going. What's the arc of the story? This term is hard for me to completely understand, but what it basically means is that there has to be a conflict, there has to be a struggle, and without that your story really doesn't need to be written. So you build the tension, you build as you create this crisis, and then you resolve it. Figure out your point of view. Who's telling the story? Am I telling the story? Is Carolyn telling the story? Is it she? Is it him? Who is that perspective? Why are they telling this story? How do they feel? What are their emotions? What is their motivation? All of that. What's your point of view? Watch your word choices. This has two aspects. First, until I write 200 or 300 pages, I never realized how often I use the same words. It works when we're speaking. It doesn't work in print. Next, make sure the word that you are using is the word you want to use. Mumbling, for example, is very different in impact from speaking. Use the correct word for the meaning you're trying to convey. Don't rush. Show, don't tell. You are your reader's eyes. Give them something upon which their imagination can build. When in doubt, cause a crisis. One of my writing professors said that if you want to write a book, you just keep creating all these bad situations and putting your characters in the worst possible, outcomes. Create crisis for them, and then at the end you just fix it all. Pick an audience and a genre before you write. Bookstores, search, Amazon, it's all basically organized by genre. If people are going to find your book, it has to fall into a category, and you need to know the audience that you're trying to reach. Who are you speaking to? Why should they buy your book? Do that before you actually write the book. It'll help you down the road. Spend a lot of time coming up with the first sentence and the title. In your intro to writing classes or intro to novel classes, very often there's an individual class each, both for the title and the first sentence. If you don't grab your reader's attention at the very beginning, they're not going to read the book. Write the story that eats at you, regardless of whether it's what you know or not. The cliche is write what you know. No, write what drives you, the message you need to share. If it's not what you know, then do the research. Google Images is a great place to start. Know your setting. Details make something believable. Make the story believable. Set deadlines and be disciplined about them. Be careful about soliciting feedback, especially early in. Some people are going to try to help you. Some people are going to be jealous that you're writing a novel and they aren't, and they won't. And they'll try to discourage you. Other people are just going to be wrong. So feedback is important, but get it at the right time and be objective, both asking and receiving. Finish. This is the big definer between a wannabe novelist and a novelist. No book is ever done. No book is ever perfect. As long as you haven't finished, you have the great American novel in front of you. There's a risk to just saying, that's it, I'm done, and finishing. You have to cross the finish line. Find a community to provide support along the way, or start one. These basic steps will get you started, and before you know it, you will have finished a book. Then comes the hard part, editing and marketing. Thanks.